Good morning. Could I ask whoever's in the back to close that door for us? Thank you very much. We'll call to order the meeting of the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada. Ms. Quigley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your first item is to conduct your first citizens participation period.
It's the first time set aside for public comment. Those wishing to speak on a posted agenda item, now is your opportunity. Seeing and hearing no one, will close this portion of public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the Commission, your next item is to approve the agenda. We do have a couple of changes. We'd like to have item number 6 be moved from consent to non-consent for discussion, and we'd like to pull item number 41 from the agenda. Otherwise, it is in order and ready for your approval.
Motion to approve the agenda with changes.
Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Next on your agenda is your General Manager's report. We do have a few things to share with you today. First, we'd like to offer some recognitions of our drivers. Every month we'd like to come and recognize some people who really go above and beyond. And today we've got a couple. First, we'd like to recognize Loita Kizzy. Is she in the audience with us? And if she is, can she come down? Yeah?
Thank you. Hi, Larry Brown.
Come on down, Loita. Loita is an operator from MV Senior Transportation. While she's relatively new to the company, she's captured the attention of senior management for her dedication and contributions to the team. She highly values her relationships with her colleagues and passengers and ensures her clients arrive at their destination safely. Ms. Kizzy also goes a step beyond when working with new employees to ease their transition into the company. She mentors and coaches them to provide the best possible service for their passengers. For all that Ms. Kizzy brings to the company, MV is grateful to call her one of their operators, and the RTC is proud to work with her. Give us a couple comments.
What do you want to get?
Oh, photos first. Yeah.
I just want to thank everybody who put me up for this nomination. The seniors, that's who I'm out here for. Feel like I'm making a difference every day. And thank you again.
Yay. Seniors. Hey. We have one more recognition as well. We recognize a driver, dispatcher from TransDev. I'd like to recognize Gail Robinson. Is Gail in the audience with us? Gail, can you come down? Gail has been a paratransit dispatcher in Las Vegas for 10 years. During that time, she has demonstrated outstanding customer service skills by treating our clients with respect and concern and keeping safety as her utmost priority. 3 months ago, Ms. Robinson was the dispatcher when an operator called in to report a major medical situation aboard a paratransit vehicle. She stayed calm, cool, under pressure, gathered all of the information in a timely fashion, kept the operator calm, and dispatched first responders to the scene. In addition, Ms. Robinson maintains an excellent attendance record, and she has earned the respect of all her peers. She truly is a model employee for TransDev North America. Please again join us in recognizing Ms. Gail Robinson.
Good morning. I would just like to say thank you for nominating me. What gets me through the day every day is a quote from Lena Horne. It's not the load that breaks you down, but it's how you carry it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Gail, you want to...
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. And next is our update on our fuel revenue indexing effort. On a quarterly basis, we would give you a report card on the status. So we have some new numbers to share with you this quarter. As of September 30th, so as of the end of third quarter of 2016, 161 contracts have been awarded due to FRI. Of those, 79 are construction and 82 are design. 76 contracts have been awarded to small local businesses. Again, that was very important to you, the county commission and the other boards, the legislature, that we make sure that local and small businesses were getting opportunities. We're up to 76. $401 million has been awarded in FRI money. And economists tell us that's the equivalent of about 5,100 jobs, 5,179 jobs created here in Southern Nevada due to the fuel revenue indexing program. I also want to share with you that we launched our bike share system in the downtown area 2 weeks ago, further enhancing transportation options for residents and visitors of our community. Users can rent one of the 180 bikes from any of the 21 stations and then check it back into an open dock. It's a great option for trips that are too far to walk and too short to drive. It's also fun, easy, and inexpensive for getting around downtown. It says join us. Our launch is at 9 a.m. on October 27th as we celebrate the launch of this exciting program. And this is one that has been in the works for quite a while, and we appreciate the patience and enthusiasm and constant reminding of our board that we continue to make this a priority. And congratulations to David Swallow and Ron Floth from our team who worked diligently to get it done.
Commissioner G.
Thank you. Just a couple of points. Yeah, I sent Jacob pictures back in the day from Paris of the Navigo program, so I'm glad we're finally getting around to that part of it, but you have to do it the right way in order to make it be successful. Do we then, what's the charge? I know they've got the station, they can just punch the ticket and you can drop it wherever else you want to go, and then it just catalogs it in, which is what they do any place else in the world. What is the cost?
You know, I'm going to have, is David Swallow with us today? I'm going to have David Swallow come down and kind of give you just a real quick review
And
of
while he's doing that, are we working with the convention authority to make sure it gets marketed for individuals that will be coming to visit, so that at least, number one, we're piloting it downtown, but downtown folks are going to come, but just to make sure that they know that this is another provision of mobility that's available
I
to
think it's a
them.
great question.
So the pricing is set for $4
Excuse
for
me,
30
sir.
minutes. That's if you just.
Excuse me, could you introduce yourself for the public
Sorry.
record?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm David Swallow, Senior Director of Engineering and Technology with the RTC. Good morning. The pricing for the bike share is set at $4 for 30 minutes. That's meant for those walk-up
Quick.
users, and really targeted towards our visitor community. For a full day, it's $8, or for $20 a month, it's
Unlimited. And then
same thing. Unlimited rides of 30 minutes or less. And so if you're getting close to that 30-minute point, you could always check it back in. If you go over the 30 minutes, we're going to charge another $4 just because we want the bikes to be available for the rest of the system.
So you have
And-
21 spots. Approximately how many bikes then do you have? 'Cause I noticed
We're
that
going
they're
to have
not
180
full, each
bikes
one. Okay.
total deployed throughout downtown.
And then
At-
you'll
at
see
the-
where the need is, and you can move them around, it looks like, because you don't have all the spots full at this time.
Right, so we have basically 1.7 docks for every bike.
Okay.
So you always have enough space, but we have applications on smartphones so that if you pull it up, you can see in real time on the map. We provide that data out real time as to how many bikes and how many docks are open at every station. So if you click on that, you can
Cool.
see it right away.
Thank you, that's excellent. Maybe we can get Rudy to do that for the car counts at Mount Charleston for the wintertime play. And that is something down the road I'd like for us to discuss, because I know Commissioner Brown's constituents have asked him about how to figure out the parking load there, and maybe the numbering system, and this is available and this isn't available, could be something we could take a look at technology-wise. So, thank you, David.
Councilwoman.
Yeah, Tina and Mayor Goodman, we're just thrilled to see this happening in our region. This is a wonderful first step for Southern Nevada, and to see it in the city of Las Vegas, where you really have a lot of activity going on during the business day. I think that's a wonderful thing. I think UNLV in the future, perhaps, like as you say, around the convention center. And eventually, we'd love to see it in Henderson, North Las Vegas, and all around our communities, and maybe even Mesquite at some point, in Boulder City, So I think it's exciting, but this is a first step, and we know that there's distances, we'd have to figure out how to create that connectivity between these distances, but I think there's opportunity, especially if we can put them on the buses. I don't know if they're adapted to be able to travel on the front, no, they're not, okay. David?
But yes, agree. So certainly this is the first of what we would see as an expansion. So a kind of a pilot program, a demo location. We'll grow the program and eventually expand it. Go ahead.
Yeah, we don't want you to put them on the buses. We want them, so what we want you to do is if you check out a bike, to access transit, we find a lot of people use it to get to and from the bus. That's part of the reason why we have it. But once you're there, we try to locate the stations near transit stops so you can check it back in. You don't have to worry about any overcharges or things like that. And what we do want to your point, we do want to look at expanding it throughout the community and activating certain areas where we have good transit coverage, complementary infrastructure where you have the bike lanes, and an environment that's safe for bicycling. So.
Mayor Goodman.
I have 4 things. Mr. Swallow, don't go away. First thing, how did we arrive at that pricing?
The pricing, we looked at different models that are used throughout the U.S., and this is kind of getting towards more of the recent models that have been implemented in Philadelphia as well as Los Angeles. And the slight difference is we have a much higher tourist population in downtown. So residents, we're hoping, will have the $20 per month and have the unlimited rides, whereas tourists that walk up and access it, you know, they are going to pay a premium price for that, or maybe they'll get a day pass, but it is consistent with what we've seen in other parts of the country.
Okay, and hopefully you'll monitor that. I keep thinking of more and more things as we're going through this. Hopefully at some point, which I mentioned to Ms. Quigley, that we'll be able to chip the bike so we can track where they're going, one, but more specifically, where the heavy path loads are. And I'm sure with technology, that's just getting a chip for each bike. So
we do have that technology available to us. Just for your information, we do know where every bike is checked in and checked out. So we can develop heat maps right now based on that data. We have data that we're pulling in on a daily basis, compiling it on a weekly basis as to how many new memberships we have, what types of memberships, where the bikes are being picked up and dropped off, and if we need to make adjustments in the system, you know, maybe one station's not getting the usage that we anticipated, it's real easy to pick it up and move it to another spot.
And that goes to another comment, perhaps I'm sure you have a survey for us, the riders, so they can respond about suggested other locations or what's wrong with the system, so we get that immediately too.
We do.
Noticing the one around the corner here at the premium outlets, in the heat of the summer, there is no shade. I know these are money things always coming from it, but when you get on with the hot handles, everything else, just for the future, are you advertising that this is available at the airport? So at some point we need to be advertising at the airport. And then I would also recommend highly a few bikes to try them out down by the Pawn Stars.
Right. We were originally trying to site a station at the Pawn Stars location, the Golden Diamond Exchange, I think it's called.
Yes.
And in the end, we couldn't get a spot. They were really excited about having it, but the spot they wanted to put it was kind of off the street where nobody could see it. And so it just didn't work out, but we are certainly looking forward to working with any of our community partners to locate stations near their, you know, where we have those high activity centers.
And one last thing, hopefully one day, because we have these fabulous trails, one day we will have not this type of bike that's for sidewalks and streets, but one that we can use on the trails that we can rent out. I mean, I think there's so much interest in biking the trails today that too will be able to be something that could bring some income as well as give our citizens and visitors a great time. But I think the program's great, and I'm thrilled that we're finally getting to the point that we're going to be able to have some data that we'll know where it belongs. Thank you. Great. Congratulations.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. And we have one more item to share with you. Last week, we had more than 130 stakeholders gathered at the Springs Preserve for the Southern Nevada Strong's first annual summit. The half-day event featured the past year's success in creating complete communities through public, private, and nonprofit partnerships, as well as our keynote speaker, who is there, standing next to Senator Hammond, in between Senator Hammond and I. Charles Montgomery, he's the award-winning author of Happy City, Transforming Our Lives Through Urban Design. Many of our partners were on hand to highlight progress made on the 4 major goals of the Southern Nevada Strong Regional Plan. While we've had some great successes so far, the region still has a lot to accomplish, and we look forward to continuing to work with our partners to implement the Southern Nevada Strong Regional Plan. And I'd just like to congratulate our MPO team, our Southern Nevada Strong team, Raymond Hess, and his group. They worked closely, I know, with City of Henderson as well in putting this together. We had Steve Hill come out as a speaker, talk about economic development. We had speakers on health. We had speakers on transportation. And it was just a really nice, it was a nice half-day event that just gave us an update on where we are in terms of collaborating and sharing our visions and goals and working towards a common effort. And the way, when people ask what Southern Nevada Strong is, one of the ways I've started to describe it, to make it simple, is to explain that, before having a regional plan, we each operated in our own silos of excellence and each of our own bubbles, and we were all doing great things. We all had our own visions. Southern Nevada Strong really is the tool that brought us together, that convenes us regularly to be reporting regularly to each other what our efforts are, so that way when we are collaborating and making sure that our visions are aligned when it comes to things like healthcare or transit, aligning urban planning and transit and transportation and all of our other areas of excellence. So anyway, it's a great effort. Very proud to be involved with it, and look forward to more.
Councilwoman.
Thank you, Tina. I would like to compliment the RTC on a well-executed forum. And for me, one of the most valuable things I took away from this was hearing from each of the municipalities the things that they're doing that really marry what they're doing in the city to the regional plan that we all adopted. And they're all just good practices that lead towards good transportation planning, good housing planning, good economic development planning. So as a community, we're all working together with a shared goal and moving out of silos, but at the same time also embracing our individual qualities that each city embraces. And we're individuals, but yet together we can make some incredible things happen as a region as well. So thank you to your staff.
Thanks. We got a lot of great feedback and comments from participants, and some of it was very excellent. We got a lot of good feedback that'll help us get even better as we're doing these things. All right. With that concludes item number 3, your general manager's report. Next is item number 4, to receive the Nevada Department of Transportation Director's Report. Director Rudy Malfavon.
Thank you, Tina. I wanted to thank the RTC and your design builder, team leader, Las Vegas Paving, for having a group of NDOT folks tour phase 2 of the I-11 project. It was amazing to see the huge earth-moving equipment out there. I've never seen some of that. A loader that large is, I don't know how many cubic yards it could move, but they're really hitting that effort very, very hard with double shifting. I was told that they've already moved over 5 million cubic yards of earthwork, about another million cubic yards to go, but it's very rough terrain. You can't believe it until you actually see it yourself. But one of the other things that I saw was where a scenic overlook is going to be built, and right on cue we saw some bighorn sheep kind of crossing the roadway. They won't cross the roadway once it's built. They'll have safe crossings at either under bridges or overpasses. Just the view of the lake was phenomenal at that overlook that's going to be completed. I know that they've started paving too. One of the things that I wanted to note was that we had to receive certain environmental training before we were able to get on the project. So it's something you got to watch out for desert tortoises. So we make sure that we didn't run into any, literally. And I wanted to thank the RTC for funding that project. Had it not been for fuel revenue indexing, our phase 1 project that NDOT is doing would have just ended at US 95. It really wouldn't have had the utility and serve the public like it was intended to be with phase 2 that RTC is delivering with Las Vegas Paving, their design build team. Our Phase 1 project, got to see that up close as well, and it's coming along. We should be done by middle of next year. Recently, we had a public meeting about the Apex Industrial Center improvements on US 93 and the I-15 interchange with US 93, which we call the Garnett interchange. A lot of discussion will be still had with some of the property owners out there. So NDOT's released a draft request for proposals to the shortlisted teams. And just to remind you of the shortlisted design build teams on that project, it's one is led by Ames, one is the Lane Construction Corporation, Las Vegas Paving is another, and Security Paving Company Incorporated. Some of those names of construction companies are not familiar, but they've worked here in the area. For instance, the Lane Construction Corporation was associated with the company that did the third straw to the lake for the tunnel project. In those teams are associated with local design firms for that design build procurement. NDOT has to continue some of those discussions. What we heard is from property owners is we're trying to look to keep the cost within the budget available for that project. We're advancing federal funds, but there is a desire to consolidate some of the approaches, the driveways or streets that come together to just a few locations, so have a frontage road concept, which adds more cost because of the drainage issues out there. So I got a chance to talk with Steve Parrish from the Regional Flood Control District, and we'll continue those discussions next week to look into some of those issues. So it's a draft RFP at this stage. There's still time to modify what the final scope of work is and issue the final scope in a request for proposals later in November, and then they'll have to submit proposals which will be ranked and selected and brought before the Transportation Board for award early next year. Everyone knows that the state Senate approved the bill that would allow room tax revenue to be used for the public portion of supporting a stadium down here in Las Vegas. NDOT completed a traffic study which looked at the two sites that the developer preferred, so the Valley High site and the Russell Road site. There are some transportation improvements that are outside of NDOT's purview, such as possible monorail extension, for instance. Also, a pedestrian bridge that might, if you have all that foot traffic coming from the Strip, an additional pedestrian bridge might be needed. But we would have definitely a role in collaboration and looking at the impacts to the right-of-way that NDOT has for I-15. But we were concentrating in our study about the improvements that we already had, either at a conceptual feasibility study, for instance, the Tropicana interchange rebuild. If you've driven underneath the Tropicana bridge, you see some bridge columns that are restricting widening of I-15. So NDOT had already started a study there and has not gone on to the environmental clearance phase, but that's the type of project that we would have to advance, as well as projects that we already had in the RTC's, the TIBP, the business plan that looked at several types of transportation improvements that would serve the resort corridor and the convention center, and including downtown Las Vegas. So there's some other improvements there that were related to the HOV or the carpool system. Really, NDOT was looking at getting people from where they live to where they work on the backside of the resort corridor. And the idea was that NDOT would look at those projects and ask the Transportation Board which ones to advance. So they were under development already, but there's not a fiscal impact because of the amount of time it takes to develop those projects. It's just a question of which ones would the Transportation Board direct NDOT to accelerate with the available funding that NDOT already receives between the federal funding and the state fuel tax revenues.
Comment,
So
Mr.
the
Chairman?
stadium report was pretty neutral on that aspect, and I'll take some questions.
Mayor Goodman?
You know me with this forever downtown. Studies had been done about the availability, should this go through, that the Cashman Complex has available because of Project Neon, Right now, we have 4 access points that don't need fixing. Project Neon will be adding 3 more, which makes Cashman Complex probably over $250 million less costly should this stadium project go forward. And I just want to keep mentioning how important it is what sites are chosen in the final analysis, knowing that you are looking at Russell, knowing that environmental studies take an extra length of time. Is that not true?
Yes, they take a long time.
So if in fact you are dealing with the I-15, which is interstate, it is possible if there's expansion there, that could slow the entire project down a year or 2 or more, as you have shared with me about expanding the I-15, even on its interior from State Line to Barstow. Is that not fact?
It's State Line to Barstow is really Caltrans's.
Right,
They
but-
don't have the money to do that. I know that it takes a long time to do environmental studies. In the case of Tropicana, most likely it would be an environmental assessment, which is the next level down from the highest level environmental impact statement. For the HOV connectors at Hacienda and Harmon that we were looking at that could support the stadium as well as provide access for the employees to get to work on the strip, that is probably the lowest, categorical exclusion, because it's not going to require additional right-of-way most likely. It's just building in the center and shifting lanes outwards. But it is noted that Project Neon will make some improvements that definitely will benefit the region as a whole, including downtown Las Vegas.
And so the access, and it's just then to make a public statement, that the reality is with Project Neon, and if in fact the legislature does vote to move ahead with the additional room tax for a stadium, that it is at a great cost saving to locate it at Cashman Complex rather than go through all these studies that you're having to put a number to, which I'm not sure you've even been able to do that yet.
No, we did not, because we concentrated on the ones that the developer, especially I personally feel that it's not NDOT's decision where the stadium is sited. It's really the developer and the stakeholders down here in Southern Nevada. NDOT is there to support the final location that's going to be developed. And the developer has to do many studies more in depth about how much traffic is generated, how he's going to deal with transit, maybe on special event days, what are the other opportunities with the monorail extension possibly, or other modes of transportation, not just the highways, but it is something that NDOT is ready, willing, and able to support when the final location is determined, but it's not our decision on the location.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, just one last question to that. The funding, were this to happen on the sites that have been chosen already, where does I know where RTC funding may come from, but where would NDOT's funding come from to take care of the state piece?
So the NDOT funding would come from the traditional sources, which are the gas tax, special fuels tax, which is primarily diesel, and the federal funding that we receive from the Federal Highway Administration.
And the light rail that we've been discussing for a variety of purposes, that funding, where are you looking for that to come from?
That would be a multi-source funded project. We would look to the feds for we would have local money, and we would, I think those are local money and Fed money are the two primary. We could consider also public-private partnerships if that's something that surfaces as we move forward as well.
So as a final comment, Mr. Chairman, if in fact this goes through and passes the legislature, I really think we need to have a full report on what it is, what the plans are going forward to move people to the site, whatever it is, and certainly from NDOT's perspective as well. Because I think at that point, the money that can be saved, even if we are nothing but being vocal and making a statement, I think it's really important. And I realize it's the developer who makes the decision. Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner G. I'm
and-
sorry, Rudy.
Oh, okay. I was-
Thanks, Rudy. Thanks, Mr. Chair. So the sites have not been selected yet, at least to my knowledge, and I do 2 sites, but, and Valley High, though, I thought was taken out because of the airport issue. So it's still just the Russell Road area, but I think there's 2 lots over there.
We only looked at, I don't know if it was a combined, but I think it was on the north side of, it was kind of south of Russell, where the
Where
vacant lot is.
Western, wherever that, I can't think what the, on the corner there, it's kind of an empty piece, nearer
Right.
the MGM site, off of Russell. Is that what they're at? It's kind of like over there. Well, be that as it may, there is no developer. So who is the developer that you've been talking with? Because Majestic pulled out.
You're asking the wrong person. I don't know who the developer will be of the eventual stadium. I only know that when it gets approved, it's going to get
If
more
it gets
traction,
approved.
and they'll have to do the other things they have to do with the NFL owners and getting all the approvals. It's a few years away from actual
Well,
construction, but
what I-
NDOT's not involved in selecting a
Right.
developer.
I think I've been very clear. I oppose the public funding part of it. But in the bill, the SB1 that's currently out there, I want to know who's on the hook for any of the infrastructure that's impacting off-site. Because that roadway, why should the constituents be paying for that roadway or that additional? Or the county? There's even a section in here that has all the cost overruns coming over to us that's been slid in a completely different way. So are you saying that there's, and that's totally on the hook and not the rest of local governments?
I believe that there was a portion of that Senate Bill 1 requires the developer to contribute to offsites, and it would be the determination of Clark County and NDOT as far as some of those. And I gave an example of one that we would see that it's not our responsibility to build the pedestrian bridge that would serve that facility. That we would look to others, the developer primarily, to construct that pedestrian bridge over I-15.
Well, the language is very loosey-goosey as far as whose responsibility that actually comes down to. So I just need that we be very cautious if it does pass. The light rail, though, is an excellent question, because in the long run, that would be a component that I think because of the impact of the volume of traffic and congestion that would be coming in that would affect our roadways, we shouldn't just look at an interchange or just look at adding another roadway. I do think that the Cashman would be the only good site for if you're really going to do something for economic development, but unfortunately, they've kind of tended to rule that out consistently. So, but just keep us apprised on that, because, well, we'll know soon one way or another, but this has been the biggest cluster that I've ever seen in my 26 years of politics, so it's kind of unfortunate that it's being done this way. Thank you.
You're on a roll, Rudy. Keep it going.
Okay, I'm going to end with that Project Neon has been impacting some on the weekends on some of the major traffic changes for demolition of that one bridge by Symphony Park on I-15. We have another major traffic control change coming where we're going to have to reduce the flyover bridge from 2 lanes to 1. We'll have a detour in effect, but a lot of outreach has been done, and we appreciate the efforts with RTC and using the Waze app and Seeing Orange website. We're collaborating with sharing information on those traffic impacts, as well as the direct contacts that we have from the Project Neon communications team to let drivers know what are their alternatives and when the activities will take place. So there will be some major changes coming. You see a lot of construction going on right now, so it's really taking off as far as the construction effort for Project Neon. And that concludes the director's remarks from NDOT.
Comments or questions? Very good. Thank you, Rudy. And also, thank you for the communications team. They've been doing an outstanding job just keeping us on the weekly updates. It's been very, very helpful. And you did mention the flyover, and that apparently is going to happen by the end of the month? Because that will be the first real visible action of Neon. So we're looking forward to it. Progress, jobs. Thank you.
And quick construction. Okay, that moves us on to our consent agenda, which is made up of items number 5 through 41, although we pulled 41, and may be taken in one motion.
We deleted 41, and
we
we're going to,
we pulled
and we're
6.
gonna
Oh, that's
pull
right.
6 off.
Yep, you're right.
Okay.
So consent agenda, which is items 5 through 41, we did pull item number 6 off of consent.
Motion on the
41 is
floor.
pulled.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
That brings us to item number 6. Item number 6 is to approve and authorize the chairman to sign a reimbursement agreement and an escrow agreement between Faraday Future and the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada, whereby Faraday Future will reimburse the RTC for design services in connection with the development of freight rail service at the Apex Industrial Park. And we have with us our general counsel, Greg Gilbert, who is available to answer questions.
Commissioner.
Thank you. I just had a couple questions during the briefing. And I know this is just the design component for us, but you're also establishing, I believe, the $32 million escrow account. Is that
Yes,
correct?
this is Greg Gilbert. The way that the agreement is currently structured is that there will be an escrow account where funds that would be put in place to pay for services are dropped into the account, and then the parties that are retained to provide those services would do so pursuant to a design agreement between RTC and that design professional team.
Okay, and so when do they have to actually do the depositing? Because I thought statutorily they'd given them some steps that had to be, come into compliance in order for them to move forward. So when does that escrow account
So,
actually get some funding?
The way that the account is actually structured and the contractual relationship, whether it's for the design work or whether it's for the construction work that would follow after the design is
Right.
complete, is that an amount is dropped in before the actual work is commenced. And the reason for that is because the statute that was drafted that enables RTC to have jurisdiction over those works of improvements specifically says that RTC is not funding those improvements. Other parties are, but not RTC. So the timing of it requires money in the bank first, and then work will commence and be completed. And in essence, RTC will not be at risk for those works.
Including the design, right? So nothing goes forward until the funding is in the escrow account.
Absolutely. So it is a predicate to work being performed that money goes into the escrow account. And
I'm glad it's a predicate, not a nominative, but that's.
Yeah, well,
Sorry.
the bottom line is that RTC is not paying for that work.
Right.
And the agreements are set up to effectuate that. And we're working with Faraday and GoEd to make sure that's the case. And all parties are fully aware of that, what comes first, and then what can't come second without the first thing happening.
Okay, and then who is responsible for whatever contractual obligations come in for making sure there was requirements for union labor, the number of people, materials that had to be purchased within state, decommissioning plan, I was talking with Fred about anything, so in case it stops moving forward, there's a way to restore it so we don't have a eyesore like the Fountain Blue sitting on the strip for 10 years, those types of things. Is that in this agreement? Is there a subsequent agreement where that's protected?
So right now, we're in the design phase. And in the construction agreements that would be put out as a part of the RFP that RTC would be in charge of, those types of contractual obligations, where I think what you're thinking is a restoration bond, the union or PLA or approach to sourcing work here locally, all of those types of criteria will be handled through RTC's purchasing department and would reside in the construction agreement that ultimately we handle.
Okay, so when you intend to have a CMAR contractor, that individual will know up front that those are the requirements for them to be able to do business here, because it was very contentious about making sure that the materials, the businesses, the men and women were from Nevada, there was a certain percentage, they had to have union, all that part of it. So that's not in this agreement currently, but when you draft for the selection of the CMAR, that language will be contained in there.
And more.
And
And
more,
that's
okay.
correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mayor Goodman.
I just want to make sure that I understand the commissioner's question clearly. The funding from Faraday will be in an escrow account, before monies are spent by RTC to do the design planning.
Right, and in fact, we
I can't
cannot,
say it here, though.
the quick answer is yes.
Okay, and it is in the documentation, because in what we have, it doesn't say up front first, and then we go to work.
Right, the entire purpose, so we've already deviated to effectuate that goal.
Okay.
So the whole concept of coming up with an escrow agreement itself, by definition, means that the funds will be drawn down from that escrow account. RTC is not funding the escrow account. Faraday would be funding that escrow account, or GoEd, or some other source, just not RTC. So without funds in that account, then RTC will not be at risk for work. Yeah.
Thank you. Councilwoman.
Thank you. It's been decades since any kind of rail has been built in southern Nevada, and so we probably don't have the capacity here. What are we doing to research and find out how we can design and build this rail line in southern Nevada, how this can happen? Because clearly this could also influence light rail and other kinds of rail systems if we're working with folks who can bring the capacity up in our own community.
I'll take a crack at this, but Fred may have some statement as well.
Sure. You're right. This is slightly different from a light rail type construction. This is freight rail, heavy rail type. And what we've done in the solicitation, Union Pacific has series of consultants that they don't endorse, but that have done a lot of work with them. And so we provide that in the solicitation document so that the firms proposing we would know that they in fact have worked with the UP. And the good news is we just had a pre-proposal meeting, and a lot of the firms that showed up are firms that have done this and have a lot of experience working on UP freight type projects.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mayor Goodman and then
and-
Commissioner G.
I'm so sorry, but to interrupt that, knowing about environmental studies, doesn't that come before everything else? That environmental study has to go on all of this?
No, in this particular corridor, keep in mind BLM had dedicated a freight corridor. The environmental work had already been done for that corridor. So long as we stay within that corridor, we don't have to do any new environmental work. However, the mitigation measures that were identified in the environmental document, whoever we select to construct would have to adhere to those mitigation measures.
Thank you.
And then just to follow up, because there had been discussions of logistics ports, and this could be a potential logistic port, could it not? If that rail is built, can it connect to any other piece of moving goods and services or not?
Sure, I mean, this, even though we're doing this for Faraday, any other industrial entity within the park can always connect to that.
Right, because they had actually identified some up by Sloan and a few other places for logistic capabilities, so we could lessen the amount of trucks that would be coming in town, do their offloading, and then move back of the house. I was just curious if that rail line is not exclusive to Faraday. It can be used then because it's still part of that whole BLM corridor then.
Correct. For example, there's an entity within the Apex I call UNEV. They've expressed interest in connecting to the line at some point in future. Now, in terms of a true rail port, this is not going to serve that purpose. Right now, there's a port or a yard at Arden. Exactly. That right now doesn't have capacity. There's been discussion outside our work to develop another facility similar to what we have at Arden that will serve the purpose that we just brought up.
Greg Gilbert, I can't do a better job than that and have nothing to add to what Dr. Fred has said.
So with everything said and the comments made, it's our understanding that the RTC, separate from staff time, is not involved in any kind of funding of this project.
That's correct. Nor will it be.
And Rudy, you brought up a point that kind of comes back to what we're talking about here is with everything going on in Apex, not only Faraday and Hyperloop and the train, there's a lot of different players at the table. I think we spoke earlier, I think it's important that in the very near future, either North Las Vegas or perhaps NDOT could host kind of an informational meeting to have everybody get up to speed on where their role is. One of the concerns that was raised yesterday in our meeting was if, let's use Faraday, if Faraday all of a sudden hits the pedal and starts accelerating, do we have the ability from an infrastructure, flood control, detention basins, NDOT, to catch up to that? And it would be better to identify those potential challenges on the front end, especially now that there's all different parties doing their own little thing now. So if I could ask you to maybe coordinate with North Las Vegas and set up a general informational meeting. Presentation over? Predicates and deviations done?
Deviations, conditions subsequent,
Then
predicates.
we'll entertain a motion. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Our next item is item number 42, which
Excuse
is...
me, Tina. Mr. Gronauer, I mean, that's the most you've ever moved in an RTC meeting. Did you want to speak to the board? All right, very good. Thank you. Get your exercises.
Item number 42 is to receive a report for the audit procedures performed on fuel revenue indexing, and Deputy General Manager MJ Maynard will introduce this item. MJ.
Okay, thanks, Tina. Auditing procedures for the appropriate and authorized expenditure of fuel revenue indexing revenue was performed for the RTC by Dennis K. Maservi, Certified Public Accountant and Certified Fraud Examiner. Mr. Maservi is registered as an emerging small business with the state of Nevada. He's here today, and he will make a brief presentation and answer any questions the board may have regarding the procedures performed and the attained results.
So, Mr. Chair and members of the commission and Ms. Quigley, I'm glad to be here to report here about the agreed upon procedures that I performed, and my firm performed, regarding the fuel tax index, the revenues and expenditures. And the good news is that after spending a lot of time interviewing and performing and testing the internal controls and performing substantive procedures, we found that the records are good. Found that the revenues are accounted for and properly posted to the proper accounting. We found that they were approved and reviewed, and that the management had quite a good concern regarding the record keeping. We tested several areas. I'm not sure to what area you might have questioned. We did find one finding that was even discovered through the internal control procedures that even was in error, that I guess there's like a 10-day pay period that they require to pay some of their expenditures, and they were able to locate this and make correction, and it was refunded. Outside of that, there were no other findings of any significance. So I guess what we want to say is that with a substantive amount of testing, I used the attestation standards with the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, and under those standards, we found that the controls are very well put in place, that the records are proper, and that the funds are all accounted for.
And would you please put your name on the record for our...
Sorry. I'm Dennis K. Maservi, Dennis Kunzler Maservi. As far as credentials, I'm a certified public accountant, been in practice since 1989. As was mentioned, I have a certification with small business. I am a certified fraud examiner. I'm a CFF, several forensic credentials. I'm actually chairman of the State Board of Equalization, so I enjoy seeing the chair in action, and the governor appointed me to that. I'm also with the American Institute of CPAs on their joint trial board, as well as I'm the Las Vegas, Nevada Society of CPAs chapter president currently. So I have a lot of hats, but this one was definitely in relation to attestation and auditing procedures, and By the way, I have peer review, so I have other CPAs check my work, and we've come out clean and do well with no other issues.
Thank you, Dennis. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Councilwoman?
Thank you very much. This board requested this audit out of an abundance of caution. We were concerned that there was a need for transparency, that the public deserved to have confidence in the use of these resources. And I'm very proud of the RTC and proud of the results that you were able to find in your review of the accounts. And it demonstrates the professionalism and the business-like manner that the RTC does business. I believe that they've managed these resources well. You know, we heard earlier in your presentation, Ms. Quigley, that we've seen 161 projects awarded, 161 projects awarded, $401 million awarded, and that resulted in about 5,100 jobs being created. And it's really important for us to have confidence that these resources, and for the public to have confidence that these resources are meeting the field, that they're going out into the community, that the RTC and the local communities are essentially a pass-through, and these resources are going out into the private sector and creating jobs and putting people back to work or to work and keeping people in jobs across our community and improving the quality of life for all of our residents in Southern Nevada. So we're very pleased to hear that you have a high level of confidence in the work that's being done by the RTC through your audit process. And clearly, by your background, it's pretty significant that you're pretty responsible and have a high degree of professionalism yourself to be able to look at these numbers and say that the RTC has been doing business in a very professional way. So this was something that this board, this commission requested this audit, and I think that the public can go forward with the November vote and have confidence to know that those resources are reaching the community in a professional and thorough manner and doing good work in our community. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I took it very seriously, and I appreciate the opportunity to do this work.
Commissioner?
Thank you, and thank you for the good work. I do think that it was almost a forensic audit in my terminology because you really did drill down, so thank you for doing that. I would ask, Mr. Chair, that we provide this to the chair of the county commission who had criticism about whether or not we were using the money correctly, to show him that not only were we doing it correctly, that the audit actually proved out that we've been very responsible as the RTC. Thank you.
And I'm happy to let that be presented elsewhere.
Well, I think Commissioner may want to hand deliver that one. I don't think she was asking me to hand deliver it.
Works for me.
Thank you again, Dennis, for the good work.
Thank you.
Chair, members of the commission, with that, your
don't know.
next,
Is that
Oh,
informational?
is that, do they need to adopt that? No? Just no action? Okay.
Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Oh.
Opposed?
Well, you didn't act, good. All right.
We want to confirm the affirmation that
Okay,
we
we,
received.
I like it. Item number 43 is to adopt recommendations from the Transportation Resource Advisory Committee and Community Collaboration, known as TRAC, regarding roadway planning and funding discussions. As you know, TRAC provided several recommendations on roadway planning and funding, and those recommendations were presented to each of the local governments at the RTC's executive and the RTC's Executive Advisory Committee, and that was direction from you. After we had Don Snyder and Tom Riley give the presentation, you asked that they go out and give that presentation to the rest of the community. So unfortunately, our TRAC chair, Don Snyder, and our facilitator, Tom Riley, are not able to be here today, so we have Ms. Helen Foley with us, who's a principal with Fess Foley Warren. She has really been instrumental in planning these meetings and in their execution and their coordination, and I just have to, I know I have told each of you on an individual basis how what an excellent job Fest Foley Warren has done, and Helen in particular, coordinating these, because these are very difficult meetings to coordinate when we've got 36 high-profile stakeholders participating. You want to make sure that everything is coordinated to the last detail, and that that the content that we are presenting is valuable, that their asks are very clearly communicated, that they understand their role, and you, Kelly, you have done a stellar job at that, so I very much appreciate getting to work with you on that project.
Thank you so much. Yes, for the record, I'm Helen Foley with the firm of Fess Foley Warren, and I am not Don Snyder, and I am not Tom Riley, although they have gone to all the different communities giving this presentation, and all of you have heard our presentation before a couple of times. We were here last at your July 16th meeting to share with you the findings of the first phase of TRAC. And you instructed us to go to all of the municipalities to make presentations to each of them. And so in those roles, you have heard our presentation. So today I wanted to give you the results of that. We first started in Boulder City, then Henderson, Mesquite, Clark County, Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and the RTC Executive Advisory Committee. The feedback from these boards was tremendous. I think one thing that we imparted on them was that TRAC is a community-driven organization. We have no elected officials on TRAC, and we were wondering at the beginning how involved they would be, and they've become very involved. They are extremely interested in infrastructure in our valley. The first phase, of course, with all of the roadways. And they didn't get down into the weeds. We didn't have people say, I want this project out in Centennial at the risk of not having this one down on Boulder Highway. We looked at all of the values of transportation and prioritized the projects. We also worked very closely with the public works departments. And we've been able to share with them as we've gone along. Many of them have attended almost all of the meetings, and they understand the importance of being able to prioritize, because when we have the need for $6 billion in roadway needs, there's no way we can even attempt, or at least this was the committee's view, and certainly Chairman Snyder's. We can't attempt to find $6 billion right away. So how do we do that? One of the very first recommendations that they made was to strongly, unanimously endorse the extension of the fuel revenue indexing. With that, it will bring about $2 to $3 billion. It's so easy because you just need to continue the process. No new administrative costs, no learning curve, no education of the public. It simply continues. And if we do that, we'll be well on our way to fulfilling the needs of our community. So every one of the local jurisdictions was almost effusive in their praise for this group of individuals who represent all different facets of our community coming together and caring about these issues. So with the recommendations, and I had given them to, or Don and Tom had given them to you before, incorporating the transportation values into the RTC's planning processes, encourage local jurisdictions to prioritize transportation values when they're submitting the projects, prioritize the unfunded projects in a three-tier system, which would be high priority, low priority, and then long term. And then develop an online tool for future projects that provides greater transparency. This was an outgrowth of a presentation that we had by the city of Sacramento and their surrounding jurisdictions. And we felt that it was really excellent because you could identify right online where the different projects were that local governments were going to be proposing. So you could look at all of it in a form that was much more regional in approach to see the linkage between them. But then also all of the jurisdictions will be using those values of congestion and maintenance and economic vitality and others that the committee prioritized. That online tool is going to be coming forward by Raymond Hess and his planning team in the next month, and I'm sure that TRAC is looking forward to seeing how that has been developed, and I'm sure that you are as well. So I talked about their absolute yes, indeed, we want to extend fuel revenue indexing. They also said, you know, we aren't here all the time. We want a deeper dive into some other issues. It's not that they strongly endorsed funding through these, but they wanted the creation of a legislative committee to take a look at electric vehicle tax, sales tax, registration fees, and other issues. We have vehicle miles traveled. Many of them said, we might step back and let others take the lead on that and see how they do before we jump into it, but we do want the legislature to look at it. The legislature has several interim committees that are permanent standing committees, everything from juvenile justice to health care to nuclear waste to public lands, and it seemed like they were, even license plates. And it looked like they were doing everything all the time, focusing on these issues, except for transportation. And so we've worked very closely with Senators Hammond and Menendo, and one of them will return as the chair of transportation, depending if the R's or D's take over, but they're both going to be very involved. And they are proposing with us a permanent standing committee on transportation that will meet about 7 or 8 times a year and take a look at our issues and delve into some of these important issues. And so we have launched now the next phase of TRAC, and it deals with transit, but also really looking into emerging technologies and what's on the horizon for Southern Nevada. And we have given them the opportunity to dare to dream, to take a look at everything that's on the table, not discard any of it, whether it's from RTC, the county, different organizations around town. Take a look at all possibilities in how we move people around this valley. At our first meeting, we were so privileged to have the evolution of transit, a presentation by Bruce Woodbury and Jacob Snow. And when they were speaking, everyone was just in awe. It was very exciting to learn the good, the bad, the tricks of the trade, how they got transit from a Barry Perea bus down the strip to what it is today, and compared it even with the Utah Salt Lake projects, and how very efficient and cost-effective our transit system is, even compared to Utah and other communities. They want to really look at the emerging technologies, and there's going to be a transportation futurist that's coming at the end of the month. They've all been invited to participate in that, and there was so much discussion at the last meeting. They can't wait to roll up their sleeves, give RTC that public perspective, that sounding board of the community in what they're looking at and what they would like to see for the future. So what we would ask you today is to adopt our recommendations and let us move forward. We invite all of you, anytime you would like to come to the TRAC meetings. They're normally on the first Thursday of every month. This month we're doing it on the second Thursday, right after the election. And we'll see where we go from here, but we thank you so much for creating this committee, and we think that it's very valuable.
Comments or questions from the board? Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.
We'll entertain a motion. Motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Your last item is your final citizen participation.
It's the second time set aside for public comment. Those wishing to speak to the board, now is your opportunity. Thank you. Mitchell Jenkins. Oh, you come on up, please. That's all right. We're good. Is Mitchell here? So right after this, come on down. You can get comfortable in the front row. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak before you. I am Alita Dupree, A-L-E-T-A D-U-P-R-E-E, from Rancho Sahara in the city of Las Vegas. I've been gone for a while, on the road for 4 months, so I'm back. Good to be back in my home. And I'm excited about the new things that are happening. Most of all, the new RTC transit app. I stood before you several years ago after I had discovered new, more modern forms of fare payment and talked to you over time, and now it's here. But don't take my word for it. It's here. I used it today. I bought a new pass today. I have several passes. So let's keep this up. So this is my collection of fare material from around the country. Denver, anyone? I used one of these to ride the A-line. Something left over from Philadelphia to ride their airport line for a first time. So I hope not to have more of this when I can keep it all on my phone. I'm glad that I don't have to buy paper tickets in person anymore, and wondering if there's going to be paper tickets at some of these stores. It's all on my phone now. I'm looking forward to trying the bike share for the first time. I am a member. I hope 500 people have signed up before me, because I'd like, as much as I'd like a founder's card, I'm hoping that more people are doing this, not just for me. I'm looking forward to these new buses coming. I like the long buses. They're easier for disabled persons such as myself to ride, because they have 11 sideways facing seats instead of 4 on the double deckers. So that's a huge issue. But let's keep this going. More things for the app. The real work is only just starting. So I speak before you as an actual real live user of RTC transit services, not speaking academically, but with 10 cities of real world experience here that I can take and testify to. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about the progress as we take the lead. Let's show this country and the world what we here in Nevada can do. My time's up. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jenkins, please.
I'm Mitchell Jenkins, to where I'm a former employee at Keolis Transit America, and to where I have spoken with, to where Hope for Prisoners as well, to where I was sent to the Keolis for them, but I was speaking on the safety of like our tourists, of being driven by drivers from Keolis on if there is an injury, to where why Keolis is allowed to go below the state law of light work duty, to where it's supposed to be 80% of a weekly wage, but they only pay you 20 hours, when if you're working 40 hours, that's 50%. And to where I got injured on September 1st, and I'm still waiting on medical treatment, because they want to go and deny, and take you all the way to trial on it. When I fractured my thumb and messed up the nerves from an old bus on Maryland Parkway, bus 814, that it is sold, it used to be one of the CAT buses. And so the parking brake popped up too early and fractured my thumb, but I'm still waiting on medical attention because of the medical company they picked, which is Broadspire, that I could be driving down and going through a green light, and from what I hear, if a car hits me and I end up in the hospital, I'm still going to be denied. And so I'm going to be sitting there trying to use my own insurance but mess up my own workman's comp. But I'm wondering why MV gives you 40 hours on light duty, but then Keolis is allowed to change theirs to 4 hours a day at 5 days a week, and that's 20 hours. So, and to where you have a lot of drivers for Keolis that are injured, but they are still pushing through the pain because they do not want to go and say that they are injured and get put on 20 hours a week. And if they want to get up to 40 hours, they have to use their own PTO for that to get up to 40 hours. And then also, and after an injury, I was injured on a Thursday. I was supposed to work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then be off on Monday. But those Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, if I wanted to get paid, I had to use my own PTO for that. And then I would start my 20 hours of light duty. So, but I had ended up having another job coming up soon, and so I had put my week's notice in. But then now it's all turning into like this, and I was told that I put my week's notice in, I will end up getting my vacation pay, which I am denied that. I have not received that as well. But I was told in front from a manager and also in front of a union rep that I would be receiving that. But then I was surrounded by human resources, safety, and all that telling me that I am not allowed to get that. So I'm trying to figure out why they are allowed to go in nickel and dime or go against how the state law is when the company that is also contracted by you guys has different rules that actually benefits the drivers rather than hurts them. And when Keolis is the one that has a strip and you guys get, what, close to $15 million a year from just the strip tourists riding the bus, but then you have an injured driver, and if they can't push the brake or they can't the foot brake or even pop the brake to be able to get the express open, that because I've heard that it's popped somebody's shoulder out, popping that e-brake. So why are the drivers put in risk or the tourists put in risk because of all of this?
All right, thank you for your comments. If MJ, if you could make sure you speak to Mr. Jenkins afterwards. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
How are you this morning, Ms. Quigley, Ms. Giuliani, Mayor Goodman? I am Mickey. I'm the Vice President for ATU Local 1637. I don't have to read the letter that the President wrote. He said he sent it to you guys, so he just wanted me to give it to you just to have it put on the record. I had a few phone calls yesterday regarding Coach 905. I sent you guys the emails this morning, MJ, Tina, and Mr. Brown. I sent you guys pictures of this coach. This morning I knew you would be in here. So Coach 905 was involved in an accident yesterday where it hit a paratransit bus back in on a training pad by a supervisor at MB who does not hold a CDL license. He had no business being in the coach if you don't have a CDL. You have to have a permit before you get behind the wheel of those coaches, and that's the way all training is done. Even the students coming in, you cannot get behind the wheel of a commercial vehicle without a CDL permit for a B license. I sent you pictures but you guys can look at these because the pictures in your email are a lot more clear of the damage that was done to them. This is a supervisor. It's trying to be covered up, and so some of my constituents over there at MB thought that you guys need to know what's going on over there before it gets covered up, the damage that's to the bus. Because had this been a driver, the driver would be turned, but because this is one of their new supervisors, they're trying to sweep this under the rug, and we don't feel that's fair. So just bringing that to your attention. You'll get the email with the pictures that are much more clearer of the damage and everything on the buses. And we're moving right along. You know, I don't come up here unless I have evidence or proof of what I'm talking about. That's one thing the commissioners do know. I come with proof and evidence so that, you know, you guys can say, hey, she came up here with the proof. MJ, I think we need to have, we do have one-on-ones, but I think we need to have a one-on-one with maintenance over there at MB because there are the same issues that we had over at Keolis when we had the one-on-one. We need to have that with the maintenance guys at MB so that you can be brought up to speed as to what's going on over there in the maintenance department. You have my email and I'll contact you. Thank you, commissioners, for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Other speakers, welcome to come down front, sit in the front row.
you guys doing? This is my first time speaking publicly, so if I say something out of line, bring it to my attention later. Not right now. But
You're doing
anyways,
fine. Just introduce yourself for the
okay,
record.
Cesar Jimenez, ATU,
Thank you.
Assistant Business Agent, newly elected. I'd like to thank Keolis. Oh man, I'd like to thank Keolis HR for addressing the issue that I had a while back regarding Sunset Maintenance Facility, and also I had a lot of concerns. She addressed it, and she took the time to hear me out, and I was very impressed how that easily was resolved. And I also wanted to set up an appointment with MJ Maynard. Oh man, she's a tough cookie. I enjoy that. Yeah, I tell you, she's a no-nonsense person, and I believe in that, no nonsense. I believe that we're transporting humans, not cattle. We had a former foreman that used to make this statement: "We are transporting human, not cattle. If a truck ever tips over and kills a cattle, we'll have steak. But when it comes to human beings, there's no reason for it." And like I said, MJ has addressed my issue seriously, and I am serious about doing my job as a maintenance mechanic and also as a representative of the local. We just had a quarterly inspection, and I was impressed that 7 out of 23 we did well. The same day we put 5 back online. I was very impressed. We have a new intern director of maintenance, and he takes his job seriously. I am constantly with him and addressing certain issues, and so far we're all going on the right track. You know, I am very thankful that I have the opportunity to work with MJ. And like I say, I hope we can straighten out a lot of issues that we have with the two companies. And looking forward to come up here and speak with you again and give you my report. And I appreciate you guys, and let's keep this work flowing in a positive direction. That's all I'm all about, is positive. Okay? Thank you guys.
Very well done for your first debut, or your debut.
I just have to make one correction. My crew just told me it's an operations manager, not a supervisor. His name is in the email too.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak to the board? Please.
My name is Ian Pollock. I'm a member of Amalgamated Transit Union Local 1637, also shop steward at Keolis. I have a point I would like to bring over to the commission, and that is on the strip. Time points. I feel that we need to do away with these time points and go to a headway. Headways are implemented when there's special events and special holidays when the strip is extremely busy. It works perfect. Why will this not work during the regular days? Each day, every trip on the strip is different from the last. You've got road work out there right now that's causing a congestion at Convention Center Drive. The time points are not working. They've never really worked. Buses are bunching. We need to keep our spacing. We're asking the commission to give us the tools that the drivers need to run the strip and to run it smoothly. The way it is right now, it's not smooth. If we go to a headway system and you guys can find a way to implement that, it's going to work a lot better than time points. Time points are not working. You've got one time point coming south at Circus. So by the time I sit there for 5-10 minutes, whatever the time point is, and once I leave there and get to Convention Center Drive, I'm 10 minutes down. And if I had left there without the time point, I'd be on time. We're the ones that are out there driving this day in, day out. We see what's going on. Understand you guys probably never come out to the Strip that often, we see what's happening. And we're putting it out to you guys. You know, give us the tools that we need to do our jobs properly. It's not working right now. Help us out. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Other speakers?
Good morning. My name is Sarah. I drive this Strip. I have a question about the fare policy. It's been posted all over the buses. So now we have a driver insist to ask the passenger to pay, which is sometimes cause problem. We have some driver got suspended because they argue with the passenger. So how does the policy work for the
won't-
fare?
Yeah, we can't discuss this during public comment, but if you have time to stay after the meeting, we can discuss it then.
I can see a lot of drivers take it really personal, which is, I see it different way. I can tell the passenger to make sure he have the fare next time. But some drivers, they know they have to follow what RTC say. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. I'm Patricia Panisi. We all know my story. Lupus, I'm on the paratransit. So today I have
Patricia, put that mic down.
sorry.
Just a little- perfect.
So today I have two sides of the coin. One, these meetings are important to me for a variety of reasons. I always leave a lot of space, whether I'm making an appointment for something medical or non-medical. Today the bus was late. I got here late. I wasn't happy. But when I sat down and thought it over, that's a tiny, tiny snapshot of this incredible system. Is that the norm? Not for me. So let me address the truth of this system. It works. How does it work? I come to these meetings, I come to my house of worship, I come to volunteer activities. Sarah, hit by a car, left for dead. The blue and white takes her to Opportunity Village. Sammy, who doesn't speak, but when he gets on the bus, he's got a smile that could light up the night sky. He gets to Helen Stewart because of the blue and white. Tiffany, who works at Studio 10 downtown, making cards. She's there because the blue and white works. These are just 3 people of the hundreds I ride with every single year. Their parents, their loved ones, don't have to worry what's going to happen to my loved one when I am gone. Helen, who has Alzheimer's, and we pick her up and bring her to the lead adult daycare. What a gift that her family can go to work and know that she's safe because of the blue and white. The bigger picture of this system, we can all talk in esoteric terms, and we're lofty, the fuel revenue index and 21st century technology. But at the end of the day, how do you know your money, your time, your efforts are being spent wisely, that the future will be better off because of what you're doing? You measure it by those of us who ride the bus, by the examples that I just gave you, the hundreds I ride with, the hundreds that I've never met. Your system works. Does it need to be improved? Of course. But what in life does not need to be improved? I have some friends who are Orthodox Jewish. 9 out of 10 Orthodox Jewish walk to their synagogue. They've invited me to come to events, and I say, well, what do I do now? They don't drive. If I'm going to show up in the Auga bus, this is disrespectful, and it lends to, I'll do it quick, it lends to a lack of credibility. People saying, hey, they're hypocrites, they don't walk. I called RTC. The gift that you gave to me, you dropped me off 40 feet from the synagogue, and I walk. I get my ride, and I'm able to be respectful to my friends. Saturday, you guys had a barbecue that you invited me to as a writer. For me, the system works. So I just wanted to say, you know, I came in here with literally smoke coming out of my ears. I was so angry. But when I sit down and say, that is a minor snapshot of 7 years, your system works. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other comments?
I'm one of the maintenance mechanics at Keolis. It is a pleasure to work with Alan Hayes, like Caesar said. By the way, my name is Robert Naylor, with the Executive Board of 1637 also. When we did that VTC inspection, we also were told to park, I think it was like 10 to 15 buses that we picked, and we pulled all these buses offline, and we passed inspection with doing that. When we usually inspect them the day before to make sure they're all good. And randomly, they told us to park these buses. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning. My name is JoJo. I live on the streets of Las Vegas. A little prayer to Jesus. Jesus, if there's ever a time to speak, please speak for me. The topic is earthquakes that this valley could expect. The thing you should be mostly concerned with is a moderate earthquake that knocks out your drinking water supply. For those of you who have, including me, lost our idea that we are in the middle of the desert here. Moderate earthquake that knocks out the overpasses and causes a disruption at the airport. Even if there's no active trucking because active earthquake zone, the water situation here is going to become critical. I would ask anyone here, if an earthquake was to hit now and water from the water fountain wasn't working, where would you get enough water to expect a timely response to this location? This location is the first place the chopper would come, along with a few other places. If you're some neighborhood in the middle of nowhere in the desert, and the city is broken up and you're having a hard time getting through it, you'll be dead. In fact, the possibility of an area of 2 million people who don't get drinking water within the second day, in the middle of the summertime, you could expect to lose approximately 1.6 million people. And the reason for that is when you calculate how many helicopters you can fly into an area that's in the middle of the desert, and an airport that doesn't have functioning traffic because it's broken up, you can't move enough people out of this area, nor can you bring enough drinking water in. And so the only real way to solve the problem for everyone here, including the captains of the ship and their families, who goes first? The captain of the ship's family or the family in a wheelchair? So, in other words, it should be highly motivating to everyone in this room to know if an earthquake hits and the water supply goes, you're all going to be in it. And you're going to need your expertise and your professionalism to help solve the problem. And it is possible, highly possible in this very active earthquake zone, Nevada being the third in the country. And next time I come, I'll go through the types of earthquakes that you can expect on a larger scale. Erasure events in this valley, and they do come. But the main thing you need to be concerned about is water for your citizens and your tourists. Enough water for 21 days, and the government, state and federal, recommend a gallon a day in the desert. They say 3 to 7 days, but if you want to bet on day 8, then in the middle of North Las Vegas, that there's not going to be a Katrina-like response, then we're all kidding ourselves. I ask everyone to pray that the minds here will come up with a way to supply drinking water to this population should it lose its drinking water for any reason. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak to the board? Seeing and hearing no one, we'll close this portion of public comment. Thank you all for attending. This meeting is adjourned.